Broncos, we know because Sean Payton told us as much, and George kind of echoed it with his actions.
Right.
They weren't in the business of, Cooper Kupp, DK Metcalf, and
Debo Samuel.
Samuel.
They're checking in on this stuff.
Yeah, they made calls and, like you said, doing their due diligence.
Guys pick up their calls, unlike Calvin Booth.
Yeah, which is the right thing they should be doing.
Imagine that. Just look at the difference in, George Payton has a sterling reputation, and guys want to deal with him, and Calvin, that, who's this calling me?
It's a 303 number. You guys know anybody in Denver?
What?
What's going on here?
Right, what do they want?
Well, so I started to think about this last night. And, all right, I know that they want the young guys to develop. I actually agree with that approach. I want to see what Marvin Mims does in now what would be year 3, but really year 2 after he kind of popped and arrived onto the scene. Can Troy Franklin or Devon Bailey take that same sort of next step that Marvin Mims did in this last year?
I think they can.
I do too, and I'm certainly giving them benefit of the doubt. However, should there be a plan in place if, 1, that doesn't happen, or 2, it just happens to take a little bit more time? And I think the answer to that should be yes. So if that's the answer to yes, and we're on, now it's Friday of the second week of free agency, so we're certainly into that third wave and maybe even at the back end of it.
Yes. Are
there veteran wide receivers out there that you go, yeah, maybe they do fit? And I'm looking at a list on Spot Rack, Spotrac, whatever you want to call it. And look, there are some of these that I'm like, nope, hard pass, definitely not. Stephon Diggs, hard pass, nope, definitely not.
Okay.
Deontay Johnson, probably a hard pass, nope, definitely not. But I've mentioned this guy's name a couple of times, and he's older. But at this point of free agency and where he is in his career, if it's a team-friendly deal, I'm still kind of intrigued by the idea of Tyler Lockett. Isn't Troy Franklin kind of in line to be like a Tyler Lockett type of player in the NFL? And why can't Tyler come in and be kind of a mentor, veteran guy that says, this is how I approach it, this is how I do it, this is what I'm studying, this is what I'm working on when I'm not at the facility. Young fella, come with me. Let me take you under my wing a little bit, and let me show you how to properly be developed.
I hope I'm incredibly wrong, and I hope Oregon Trey reminds me, but I see the idea of Troy Franklin being a Tyler Lockett. I don't think that happens.
You just don't think it's a real possibility.
I don't think it happens. Now, maybe Lockett could come in and then teach the young fella, and he really learns and he really grinds and all that, but it's not a work ethic thing with Troy Franklin. It's not a focus issue or concentration or even effort issue the way it is, as we talk about a lot with Michael Porter Jr. or something like that. But for me, it's Tyler Lockett. I think Mike Evans wants Keenan Allen, right? We look at that.
Lockett, I hate that name. He's just old.
Right. He's just old and perhaps washed. Mm-hmm. That's the problem. So if I look at who's the least washed, it would be a guy like Lockett who could come in and be another veteran presence in the room. And based on conversation we've had with Mike Kliss, and then a reminder from Andrew Mason this morning, they signed Josh Reynolds right after the owners' meetings last year.
Okay, good call.
Are we about a week or two away from them signing Tyler Lockett? Yeah. So I think the timing could be similar in where they make this move, and this third wave goes on forever. It's just
this is just the wave and it continues.
This is just free agency, right?
Right.
This is the forever wave. This is the wave you don't want to be in.
Yeah.
Because
if you're still available right now, you're kind of like, what's going to happen with my life?
Yeah, because you could be available in April, and then you could be available in August. When did Kev's buddy Justin Simmons sign last year?
It was a while.
It took a minute.
Mm-hmm.
It took a minute. So if you're Tyler Lockett, would you take a big deal from the Broncos on April 2nd? Yeah. Yeah, you would. Why? Because the streets are going to be really cold. In this draft class, I know we'll get into it a little bit later as well, but the Joe Klatt mock draft is let's take Golden, Matthew Golden. We're seeing Luther Burden mocked to the Broncos and all this stuff. I think Ibuka, did he get mocked to the Broncos as well?
Ohio
State? Yeah. So I think that you've seen wide receiver be a somewhat popular pick, and I don't see that either. Not because those players aren't incredibly talented, and I would rank Ibuka first, and then Burden, and then Golden after that. But I look at it as the Broncos don't really have that need like y'all think they do because of Marvin Mims, because of Troy Franklin, because of Devon Vele. And now we'll bring in the little Jordan Humphrey's not an option to come back as wide receiver or tight end because the Giants got him. And he played 50% of the snaps last year. The number 4 player in terms of snaps, I bet not many people could guess who it is. On offense, wide receiver and tight end. It was Cortland Sutton 1. It was Adam Troutman 2. It was Lil Jordan Humphrey 3. Can you name the 4th?
Michael Adkins?
Nate Atkins.
Nate Atkins? That's how much I
Michael Adams?
I was mixing Burton and Atkins because they're the same Spider-Man meme, right? So
yeah,
call
same
them the
thing. Same thing, yeah. It was Devon Vele.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Because you say, who's going to take over those snaps for Lil Jordan Humphrey? It's Devon Vele. Devon Vele, they're cooking something here. And maybe it's nothing, but maybe he's a star. Maybe he's a Pro Bowler. Maybe he's your Cortland Sutton eventual replacement.
Like I'm saying, I don't want their development to be hampered or slowed down. Hindered.
Right,
there we go. Right. But if I'm looking at Tyler Lockett on a down year, had 49 catches for 600 yards. That's a down year.
And that's a down year.
Now,
right.
He might be having more of those or only those. But Troy Franklin in year 2, Devon Vele in year 2, even though we both feel more good about Devon than we do Troy, but are either of them going to get you that? 50 catches for 600 yards? I don't know that I can rely upon that. I don't know that I'm making an investment that that's what their season stats end up as. That would be a pleasant surprise on my part.
Yeah.
But that's all it is. I want Tyler Lockett as my insurance policy. Let's pay the tab every month, and a great insurance policy, right? You never have to use it. But if you need it, it's there, and I don't think Tyler Lockett's going to break the bank at this point of free agency at 32 years old.
Okay, then let's have the Keenan Allen conversation as well. 70 catches, 744, 6 touchdowns last year.
Okay.
On a down year, on a player who's trending down, by the way, because the previous year it was 108 catches for 1,200 yards and 7 touchdowns. So touchdowns are almost the same. And in fact, every year you can count on 6, 7, 8 touchdowns for Keenan Allen since 2016, and he only played 1 game that year.
Wow.
So almost every year from 2017 on, it's 5, 6, 7, 8 touchdowns. So I think Keenan Allen, Tyler Lockett, these are kind of the names. Maybe some would throw in like a Tyler Boyd. I'm saying no to Deontay Johnson because he's allegedly a head case.
Yeah.
Every stop. When Mike Tomlin's had enough of you,
I don't
and
know
then
if
you go to Carolina and Baltimore the same season.
You have to say allegedly. We kind of see it with what he's done.
I have no idea. I just don't want corporate to be like, you can't be personal. You can't call someone a head case. I think enough teams have called Deontay Johnson a head case for, that to be kind of his reputation that precedes him. So I want a guy that would fit the room. Who'd fit the room? Tyler Lockett.
I'm not out on Keenan Allen. I just think, and especially Spot Rack has it too, it's about a $4.5 million market value difference for Keenan than Tyler. Now, Spot Rack says that Tyler's market value is 7.7. That's too much. And at this point of free agency, he's not getting that.
He's not getting that.
That might have been his market value on day one at 10 a.m.
Sure, right.
On free agency. But now that we're 2 weeks into this and teams have their targets, that's not what his market value is. So, again, I'm telling you, it's an insurance policy, and it's a $2, $3, $4 million deal. That's it. And it's only until or if Troy Franklin and Devon Vele really start to pop, or if Marvin just picks up right where he left off. Then hopefully it's, we picked him up and we don't really use him a lot. It's like the Josh Reynolds kind of situation.
Yeah.
That would be best case scenario because that means Troy and Devon have come a long way.
But then you actually kept him for the year.
Well,
unlike Josh Reynolds.
Right.
Yeah. So,
and I assume somebody tried to kill Josh Reynolds.
Yeah.
I'd assume he wanted to leave this state.
Yeah, that
I'd leave. I'd probably go somewhere else.
Something freak you out, right? When you're basically like stalked.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
He was, dude. It was attempted murder on the guy. Mm-hmm. Like I'd want out too.
Yeah. So the Broncos probably going to sign another receiver. Who is it? Not Stephon Diggs, not Deontay Johnson.
No. I like your timeline. Owners meetings. Let's see what that
right
looks
after.
like.
Yep.
Okay.
Because anytime the NFL gets together, guess what happens? Stuff gets done.
They talk shop, right?
Exactly. Because you're around. You're partying in West Palm, Florida,
a
Palm
little
Beach.
sauced up.
Yeah, you could have some cold pops.
Mm-hmm.
Billionaires are different, man. They're just different. Partying with billionaires, different.
I'd love to know. I would love to know. All right, what's on our timeline? Let's check